Hello, today I am going to go over the concept of some asset creations, but specifically I want to show what that's like when using curves to create things like jugs and jars in this specific example. So this is a NURBS curve usage, and really what I'm going to do is I want to convert it over to Polygons. So here we have a couple of different little jugs and a torch kind of lamp thing that I've kind of loosely sketched out, and I sketch out half of the design because it allows me to really see what that curve line is going to look like without necessarily considering the other aspects. So you can see already here, let me go ahead and hide that. If you look here, you can see that I've already kind of created one and another. This one I'm turning into a little hookah setup here. So I thought that looked neat as more of a hookah. So I kind of modified the design on this first one into this, but you can see how that matches up. Kind of got the same geometry setup and everything. And this other one here is this vase with, it's gonna have a big cork plug. Now I've already laid out the UVs for both of these, so now they just need to be textured later. So now I want to make one that's more of like a little potion bottle, and I can make this sconce, this wall sconce torch, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and set this on the other screen. And you can see here are my wireframes that I was using for both of these. There's one, there's two. I'm going to go ahead and make a third one now. For some reason, I'm a little... Okay. So let's go ahead and create... let's go to the front view. All right. The front view is the best way to do this. Kind of lay these out. I'm going to go ahead and grab both these. Just kind of... I wonder if that'll mess with my geometry. No, good. I've detached the geometry. It's another factor because these will keep influencing your jars until you delete history. So I'm just going to go ahead and set them over here for now. All right, so I want to make like this little potion jug. So if you go on up to curves and surfaces up here, you will get a number of options. You want to click on the little curve set up here. And you want that not to be uniform. Uniform does, it tries to maintain like a spacing issue. And the problem with that is when you start making cool curves, I'm not going to make curves because I'm set to linear. Go to cubic, 3 cubic, because that'll give you the ability to create, see, curves. But the problem is when you try and make these tight curves, it does this little pinch thing because it's trying to uniform them. So we don't want that either. So I'm going to go to chord length, where now if I make curves, I got a lot more control over them. See, very much, I don't have that pinch in it anymore. So you want that chord length setting and the 3 cubic. So I'm going to try and make, I'm going to go for this little jar here. So right off the bat, something to keep in mind is you want to start kind of right on this center point here because it'll revolve around that center axis. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold down Shift so I can get a straight line. See, I can move it back and forth, but it's set on a path. All right, so we'll make it like here. Kind of zoom in a little. And now if I hold down Shift and I create another one, I now have 2 points there. You can see there's 2 little X's and then a third point because that's how you can control the turning of your curves, right? And it's just like when you're working with polygons, if you add edges, let's say you've got literally like the edge of a box, if you add a couple edges, it'll help turn that flow of geometry a lot better. So I'm going to put one here in the middle, and I'll put another one on kind of up here. I probably could almost have another right here. Yeah, there we go. So see, I'm getting that nice rounded shape there. And again, I want to turn this drastically, so I'm going to go ahead and pinch it with 1, 2, 3 pieces. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect because I can kind of go back and I can mess with that a little bit. go here. It's kind of kicking outwards. That's all right. Let's do here, then here. All right, and then we'll go here, and I'm gonna turn it again and drop this here. So that's about it. There's the curve setup I made, right? And it's a little wonky, but that's okay, because what I can do now is I can select it and then go to control vertice or control curve points, but I like vertices, the control vertices. So now if I just kind of take these and line them up, see, like the closer I pull these in on each other, the more I can kind of pinch that edge, see? And I can really kind of design and control it. So I want this to be a little more flat, just a little bit. Right? There we go, there we go. This one probably needs a little more. These ones could probably be pushed in because they're kind of making it weird. There we go. So you flatten that base there. Even though technically it'd be kind of neat, but you're not going to really see. Maybe you will. Let's go ahead and let's lift it a little bit. So maybe, I think this gets lifted at some point. So let's make it have like a little bit of a curve on the interior, because that's going to make the bottom of it have kind of like a rounded surface. And then pull this down a little bit to give it a little more. See, now we got a nice round aspect going on here. And you can kind of control these. I put these extra points in to make sure I could really round things out the way I wanted. Well, that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. So if I wanted to kind of control and pinch these, I think it's pretty good. That's about the way I want it, though. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave that alone. So now, make sure that both of these points here on the ends are hooked up on that Y, which you can do by snapping the grid, right? Just make sure they're snapped on. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to perspective mode. Now, here is the thing. I am set to modeling, and I want to go to surfaces, right? Because the surface panel has a bunch of options for you to loft or planar or revolve or all sorts of things. Now, we're going to use the revolve. So I'm going to open up the revolve menu. And there's a lot of options. You can set your axis preset. So if I set to like X here, it's going to revolve like this, right? And that might be good for something like a wheel or some kind of weird lazy Susan platter or something. But that's not what we want out of it. You can set it to Z, and that'll do that, which is horrific, but not what we want either. We want the Y, right? Because it's set to the Y up, down. And if I hit apply, I get this little potion jar thing that I'm trying to make. Now, maybe it's a little too fat. Maybe not. I'm going to mess with it some, so it might work. But it does also set up a NURBS with complete curve range, which not what we're wanting. The segments mean there'll be 8 segments, so that means it revolves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way around. And that would be fine. It actually maintains a really good shape. You can like lower that to say like 4, and you're just going to get, it still maintains, but it loses a little bit in the NURBS. And really, we don't want NURBS anyway. We want to turn this into, I'm going to go back to I closed it accidentally. We want to go back to, we want polygons, right? So we're going to go down here and we're going to collect polygons because it'll output the geometry as polygons instead of NURBS. Now, with that, we get a whole bunch of extra pieces here. Triangles and stuff. Like if you just hit apply right now, you're going to get this. And no, we do not want that. So I am going to swap to quads so that they're 4s. And I personally really like count because it allows you to control the poly count. So if I have, it gives me a default 200. If I output that, it's a little blocky, a little chunky. I can up that probably to, I don't know, 400 might be okay. We get a little more. And that's almost too much, but let's see. Let's go back to the 200. That's probably too much. Let's kick it down to like 100 and see what we get. Because honestly, we don't really need that much. Let's try 100 because I'm going to add. That's really basic. I want it to be a little higher detail. I'm not. This is a main object that kind of will be focused on briefly. So maybe 250. That's kind of a lot, but that's okay. All right. And now I'm pretty okay with that. Now if I grab this little edge piece here, the one that I originally used to make, this is the original curve. If I start editing this, it will edit the object. So I could come in here, for example, and it's a little tricky to grab it. I'll grab this piece here. And by moving it, it will still affect the geometry, see? Which is pretty neat. I feel like it's a little fat, so maybe I take all these in just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, what do we get now? That's pretty okay. All right, now honestly, at some point, I'm gonna want to delete the history on that because it will disconnect it from the curve. So I'm gonna just do that right now because I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna start messing with other aspects here. So let's take this curve and we'll sit over here with the other curve templates that I've made. All right, so see this, it's got a little bit of curvature on the bottom there, on top. It's a nice little potion jar, I think it works. Maybe I could make it a little taller, but I'm pretty okay with it. So now I want to do a few extra little pieces. Now that I've put it into polygon form, I can start modeling on it a little more. So really, I'm just going to do some edge loops to kind of, oops, that's too many. Let's go back to relative edge. Or you could use this tool here. I'm just going to kind of add some extra pieces. Again, I still really like the split edge because it selects the ring when you're done, and then you can just immediately kind of adjust things. I wonder why it's selecting all the way down there. Let's try up here. I probably should have thought a little more about this top piece, to be honest, because if it is a potion, like, you should be able to take the top off. So I will probably put a little divot in here. And again, notice how I'm making these 3 points. Like if I make 1, 2, 3, I have a lot more control over the turning of the edges, right? Squeeze this in a bit. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of extra in here just to smooth it out, right? So now when you look at it, right, it feels like a nice tight little piece in there, right? Looks like it's disconnected maybe a little, even though it's totally still part of the same geometry, but it gives the impression. Now, I also wanted to create like little wrappings kind of around it. So let's go ahead and select, and I'm going to put the wrappings basically through here kind of thing. And notice what it does when I add these extra loops. It really tightens that edge. See, if I put one here, it really kind of pinches that edge. And that is something you want to try and kind of achieve when you're doing this. You kind of want to get those edges to really, not always, but you know, like I probably don't want the edges to really pinch here. In fact, I'd rather these ones were smoother because it's supposed to be like rounded bulbous glass. But for everything else, I'm trying to pinch these points, right, to make this nice little joint here, right? So you can see it from the side. It's important to know how you can kind of create those proper edge flows and pinches on things. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to kind of expand it out a little bit. And I'm going to make some more through here. So I'm going to take this one, kind of expand that out, pull it out, right, to give the impression that there's maybe some more something going on, wraps and stuff. And it wouldn't hurt to maybe put a few through here. Again, this is semi-high detail, and let's take this one and tilt it a little bit. All right. Size that up. And let's get another one down here. Push that in a little bit. And another 1, 2 here. I'm going to grab these faces at this point. Whoops. Face all the way around. Oh, size that up. Probably could use one more up here maybe. And again, I need a little more pinch right here. A little bit like that. Okay, so really all I'm trying to get here is a number of edges to make this feel like there is some, let's see, some wrappings maybe on there. Feels a little more bundled, as it were. And I could probably get a few more in down here. I probably should maybe put one the opposite direction to really sell this. Go here. Go here. And let's get some extra edge loops in to control that curve. All right, so we'll squeeze that on in a little bit. See, we're helping make those edges because you want it to read the silhouette. Read the silhouette, the outer line of the model, right? So this one now probably needs to be slightly adjusted. It's getting a little too close. So if I take this and kind of lift them up, get them a little closer. This is probably the most detailed part of this jug here. Probably could have just moved these up a little more all at once, but you never know exactly precisely what you kind of want out of something. So, oopsie, there we go. There we go. That should do it. All right. So one last piece there is going to be a little like kind of knot kind of tied in. Let's see how this looks though in object mode. Yeah, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Now it's not like overly detailed, but it's enough to really give a good suggestion of what's happening, right? You get these little wraps and stuff. And I just sculpted that out of the geometry itself, right? And it won't be too terrible to UV either. So final touch is, let's put it over here. I'm not exactly sure. I don't want it to be like incredibly detailed. I just want like a little piece that can kind of be extruded. I think that might even be too much. Let's just do one little piece. Extrude, extrude. Scale a little bit. Extrude, push out. Scale down a little bit. And we can probably select all of this. Kind of push it in a little bit there. I probably wouldn't kill to put a little thing right through there, just so I have a little flexibility on the end here. Right, and maybe a few more little tiny bits just to control the edge looping here. I feel like I need a little bit. This was the least thought out part. So I kind of want a little more. It's supposed to be like a tight little tied off knot. I bet it would help to get a little bit of reference. Let's see if I can find a quick reference of something like that. So short knot. I'm getting a lot of hair. I probably will not find what I want because it's kind of very strangely specific. So I will just probably have to kind of wing it. But the idea is like there's a little leftover bit of cord from the wrap. And I want that to kind of represent. And I don't, you know what, honestly, I feel like it might not even work here. It probably should be down here if I really wanted it to be appropriately placed. Boop, 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 boop. It should probably be right here. So let's just do that. Pull that out. And pull this out. And let's do one more. Let's widen it. And let's do one down here. So I'm kind of coming at this from a different perspective now. One more. Let's widen that one. There we go. Oop. It's kind of pushing down into the thing. And let's push this up a little bit. And make sure there's plenty of space here. There we go. That's maybe a little better. Although, let's exaggerate this. Kind of arranging this a little bit. Probably could use one more little edge in there. I know. It's at this point it's really nitpicky. It's what it is. But there we go. All right, and let's go ahead and surface. Mesh display will soften edges. Looks like we need maybe one little loop in here just to help pinch these in. So you notice they're kind of a little, it's not quite happy with the sudden curvature change. That's okay. It'll be fine. Also, it wouldn't, I don't know, I'm not sure if it would be good or not, but I'm going to select these. I'm going to select all these faces here. And I'm going to mesh display. Yeah, let's see what happens if we harden it. Nah, too polygonal. It's okay. The modeling will hold up on its own, especially once we get some textures on there. So there we go. There's our little potion jug, right? With little tie knot pieces. Now I technically think it needs to be a little smaller, right? Especially because, let's duplicate it real quick. I have a shelf over here that I want it to go on. And it's going to go right here. So it's too big. We'll size that down. This shows me I need to change the shelf a little bit. Need to extrude that shelf out some, or back in rather. So let's do that real quick. There we go. And okay, go away. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your time. Okay. Put this in here. There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect. Got my little jar potion on the shelf there. All right. Other potions and stuff can go on different places. All right. So this shelf needs a little bit of work too. I'll throw some extra edge loops around on it, but there you go. And that's how you can make different setups with NURB curves, bring them into polygons, and then hash out some finer details on them.